time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Buck Baits,
Better the Hunt,
Rebel 6 Rubs and Seasonings,
Easy Cut,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Sunrise Archery,
Total Peep,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Packer Max,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Scent Blocker,
Scent Lock,
Copper John,
and Stanislawski Release Aids. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. Host Mike Adams sitting in the cabin tonight. Dan DeFar, our guest, is sitting ready to rock and roll as well. We got some cool stuff to talk about tonight, but before we get started...
Absolutely, we got some cool stuff to talk about. You know, there's nothing better than talking about old stuff, like you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Anytime
I take a jab. Go right ahead.
Absolutely. Anytime that I can come up with an old joke that I can get you involved in, I'm going to go there.
I see how you are.
You know, that's just the way I am because, you know, you're my pal.
Thanks.
Pal.
I appreciate it. Well, I tell you what, why don't you kick this thing off and talk about the good people who help us?
I will do that. And you know what? Helping out our sponsors is just one of the things that you can do for us, and getting over there and checking their what they have to offer and maybe buying something helps us help them, and they help us. So it kind of works twofold. But you know what? If you want to really help us, you know, for dinner today I had some salmon. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have been right if I didn't have Rebel 6 Rubs on it.
Absolutely.
And if you want a promo code, how about 20% off your order? If you go over to their website, rebel6rubs.com, and you use the promo code NorthJournal, you'll get 20% off when you check out. But that's not it. Buck Baits. We're going to have him on the show coming up towards the end of the month, it looks like. As long as we nail it down, we're going to have Buck Baits on the show. And if you'd like to get a 20% off your order over there, go over to buckbaits.com, use the promo code UpNorthJournal, and you'll get 20% off over there. I tell you what, we're drinking our Hunter's Blend coffee here. I had some Hunter's Blend coffee yesterday morning as I was shooting my bow out in the backyard with the sun rising. Hey, if you go over there, you can get 10% off your order. HuntersBlendCoffee.com. Use the promo code capital UNJ, get 10% off.
You can see it right there on the banner. That's the promo code. Use that when you check out, save 10%. So, well, what do you think? You ready to just get into it tonight?
Well, since we're going to be talking about something old.
Thanks. That's the way you're going to treat me, huh?
Well, Tammy wants you to cut my mic.
I can do that.
I know you can.
Well, I tell you what, we've been talking about it a little bit here.
Yeah, we shared the story on. It came out. We shared it on Facebook, and then you were able to hook up.
Yeah,
and then
you see it right there on the banner. That's the promo.
And our guest, he was sitting in the wings, just brought your mic up. You're going to have to kill your audio on your end there if you don't mind, because we're getting feedback off of that. There we go, cool. But none other than the Michael Bleau himself, the man who found the old set of elk antlers and skull here locally. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing great, man. Thanks for taking time out of your Sunday evening to sit down with us and talk about old stuff besides me, I guess. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, you got plenty of white in my beard.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know, actually, we talked a little bit about it, and you and I are close to the same age. So, Danny, you better watch out. You're going to get ganged up on here real quick.
Okay, you two old guys. But, Mike, you know, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and it's one of those things that, not going to lie, this is like finding a needle in a haystack, or a needle in a lake, I guess.
Yeah, or a drop of water in the ocean.
Drop of water in the ocean, right? How did you find this thing? Let's start there. Let's get the story behind how you found it.
Yeah, so we have like a swim platform on a couple pontoons underneath the deck and some stairs, ladder, and we anchored off about 20 meters off the shore, and it drifted where we didn't want it, so we wanted to move it. So we were basically pulling up the two anchor lines, and they're basically just 50-pound blocks. And we got the first one up, no problem. Second one, we couldn't pull it up. There's three of us on there, myself, my son, and his fiancée, Josh and Bailey. So we had our backs into it, and finally it broke loose, and great. So we just pulled it up enough off the bottom so we could drift. And I looked over the edge, and I saw what looked like the trunk of a tree. So I said, guys, we got to pull this all the way up and get it off. And by then, Bailey jumped in the water, so Josh and I pull it up. And she swims over to help me get it off the rope, and we realized what it is, and she was freaked out because she was in the water near it. And at that point, it was covered with this really slick black, almost like graphite powder and grease from the bottom. So it was completely black, and the surprising thing is that there was only one loop of rope around one of the antler tines. That was the only thing holding on to it.
Wow.
And we got it up on top of the swim dock and just said, okay, this is crazy. All the other kids in the water were screaming. They thought it was cool. And we finished moving the dock, and then we put it on the boat and took it in. And what we knew it wasn't a deer. Wasn't really sure what it was. Looked, like it could have been Al. So we just rinsed it off and started trying to reach out to people who might know what it is or can figure out how old it was and, if there's anything that we should do with it to care for it.
Wow. I got a picture of it. It's your son and his girlfriend. They're holding this thing up. And that's the lake behind them there where you found this at. Okay, it's a private lake here in the local area. Yep. And you said that the kids were screaming and everything. I mean, what did the people in the neighborhood or out on the lake, what did they think when you pulled this thing up?
We got a mixed reaction. My one neighbor, he said, "You haven't been here long enough. You have to give it up."
I was just about to say, because we talked before the show that you just moved there, so yeah, welcome to the neighborhood. No, you can't find something like this. Give it to me.
Wow.
Yeah, we've only been here since March, but we've had people come over from around the lake just to check it out before we shipped it out to Cranbrook. People were coming by to check it out. Some neighbors expressed interest in buying it so they could put it in their homes. It's people have been pretty wound up about it. It's pretty interesting to find the whole thing intact with so much detail on the little bones, even in the nostrils and around the skull base. And just all these little bones you think would be gone.
And you said there was one loop of rope around the antlers to hold on to that and bring that up to the top. You want to talk about lucky that it didn't unravel and fall right back to the bottom of the lake.
Oh yeah, I don't know how it didn't. I mean, it was just literally one rotation. That was it.
Yeah, that's awesome because okay, I have to ask: did other people go back down looking for more?
I don't think so. I mean, it was about 30 to 40 feet of water, and once you get down, the water's crystal clear until you get down about 10 feet. It starts to get darker, and then the deeper you get, it just gets black.
Okay.
So if somebody wanted to go down there, they'd have to have some pretty bright lights.
Bright lights and some diving gear, and just you're going to go down there and feel. And depending on how, it would be interesting to kind of know how this was sitting down there to get the one loop of rope on it to get it hooked.
Yeah.
Because was it sitting upright? Was it sitting half in, half out of the mud? Because like you said, that muck at the bottom of the lake is you can't walk in that if you could because you sink like nothing into it. But yeah, the amazing detail that it's preserved. Is your lake there being that deep, is it a cold lake that it would preserve it this way, or?
Well, so I don't know anything about this stuff, but my neighbor's brother-in-law is an archaeologist. He came over. He's in his 80s. He's got this massive collection of just all kinds of stuff. It's pretty cool. He came over, looked at it, and he was pointing out to us how it was half submerged.
Okay.
Because of part of it was preserved perfectly. I mean, all the little nubs on the antlers were intact, and then the part that it was exposed, you could see where it was eroded and smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just see the line right across the face of the skull where it was buried.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was pretty excited about that. But he said at that depth, it's such low oxygen, even when you get under that muck, that it preserves pretty much anything.
Okay. Really? Okay.
Wow, simply incredible. I wondered, did they think it obviously probably fell through the ice at some point? Is probably how it wound up down at the bottom of that lake, they think?
That's what a couple of people have suggested.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I could think of. Why it would be out that far, right? I don't think anybody went out there to drop off a deer an elk skull.
In the summer and got a cramp. Who knows?
Right. Well, you think these animals do traverse water. They can swim, but that lake there it's not real big, and there would be no real reason to really cross it unless maybe a wolf was chasing it. We're not going to give away the age just yet. Everybody's like, how old was it? We're not going to do that.
But, well, how old and what did it score? The question's coming across.
Is that what they're saying now?
They want to know what it scored.
So,
when it scored, we did get a hold of what is it, Crockett, Boone Crockett?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were going to score it, but they wanted it to dry for so many months.
Yes,
and when we talked to Cranbrook, they said keep it wet because the process they have to do to save it is to have it stay wet the way we found it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since then, they've preserved it so it could get scored.
Okay.
But I don't know if they're going to want to do that still.
I'm sure that when we get to the age, I'm sure why wouldn't you? Just for
Right.
the sole purpose of, because the whole other part of this is being in the southern Michigan. When was the last time there was elk down here?
Right.
Right. It's that's
the whole point.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Is the elk range that we have today
Is like Gaylord.
is Gaylord,
Yeah.
northern Michigan up. There's
Right.
no elk down here, so that's telling you that we're looking at something with an age factor that's pretty old itself.
Right.
And that's why this is so cool, because
Right.
it's in southern Michigan and we haven't had elk here in ages.
Right. So
Right.
it's something that you don't see every day. But and what's interesting, what kind of struck me with this, I mean, when I saw the article originally, and I said, found out that it was so local, I knew we had to reach out to you and try to get you on the show to talk about it. But I want to say this is like the third, maybe the fourth elk skull that's been found around Michigan, like in similar instances like this in the last 5-6 years, I think. So it's like all of a sudden we're starting to see a little more of this activity of where these things are starting to reappear, kind of. So
One of the
pretty cool.
questions we do have, do you know the age of the lake that you're on? Does it match that the lake was there back when this elk was living?
So, kind of, because it's, from what we've been told, it's a glacier lake. It was formed back during the Ice Age.
Okay.
Because it's a basin lake, it's deep. And it drops off. It's like somebody just took a mountain and shoved it in the ground.
Oh,
It
okay.
drops off so quickly. We have about 20 foot on our side of the lake. There's about 20 feet of a shelf there where you could have maybe 4 feet of water, 5 feet of water, and then it drops off to like 30 feet immediately, and then it drops down to 40 and 60 and in different areas. Somebody's told me it's been up to 90 feet that they've seen on their fish finder, but that seems really deep. So I don't know yet, but that's what we've been told.
Okay.
And most of the edges of the lake, it just drops off right at the shoreline. It just falls off.
Okay, so Jason Radecki, that's what he said. He says, well, maybe the elk died there, and then the lake formed over the lake. But
Yeah.
with that being said, it looks like the lake was there at that time. So
Right. Gotcha.
let's go back. What either was swimming or it was ice.
Yeah, it fell through the ice.
Yep.
Yeah, it could have been either way.
Yeah, and the falling through the ice is what people have been telling us they think it is. Because, I mean, you don't know. We don't.
Right. Well, I tell you what, we're bumping up here close to our first break. Well, go ahead and we'll stop
Yep,
here for a
absolutely.
minute. We'll step outside. We'll take our first break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation, and we'll dig into a little bit about the carbon dating process that you had to go through,
Yeah.
and see. We'll talk about that. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible.
By basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Sitting here, second segment of the episode, talking with Michael Bleau in Livingston County, Michigan, talking about an ancient elk,
An ancient elk, an old elk.
an
But
old elk.
to find that out, he had to go through a process.
So when you figured out, it's like, okay, this thing's going to probably be pretty old. You know, what was your process of getting a hold of somebody and figuring out how does carbon dating work and who do we contact?
I emailed everybody I could think of. Looked at universities, reached out to the MSU Extension, reached out to news organizations, hit up, hunting magazines, just to say, hey, we found this thing. Here's some photographs of it. We think it's an elk. It looks pretty old. Not sure what we should do with it to take care of it.
Right.
And it was really cool. A lot of people reached back and either called or emailed to offer assistance. And after maybe a few days after Mila ran that first story on MLive, got reached out by Michael Stafford at the Cranbrook Research Institute.
Okay.
And he said, listen, if you want to loan it to us, we'll date it, we'll preserve it, we'll put it on exhibit, and we'll take care of all of it. It was fantastic. So they picked it up the next day, took it in, started the preservation process, and sent some samples, small samples from inside the skull to a company called Beta down in Florida. where they ran it through some type of carbon dating process. I'm not sure what they used to determine it, and then they came back with a report. I think it came in Friday or Thursday this past week.
So they just took a little bit of the skull bone itself to send down to this place in Florida?
Yeah, yep.
And it obviously doesn't sound like it was a big, large section of the skull that they had to send down.
No, you probably wouldn't even notice it, and they took it from the inside of the skull, so it wouldn't be visible.
Okay.
Detract from the way it looked.
Okay. I've got a picture up here right now, and it's of the upper roof of the mouth, and you can see the bottom of the teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we've learned how to age deer by their teeth. Now, okay. I know you're not going to know how old this or how far back of a date this thing was, but did they do anything by looking at the teeth to give an estimated age of the animal when it died?
Yeah, they said he was about 18 years old, was married, had a couple kids.
Okay.
Normal elk life, yeah.
Couple cows, couple bulls, picket fence.
And that's why he was out on the lake.
There you go. He was fishing.
Yeah, right. No, they, as far as I know, they haven't done that.
Okay.
That would be pretty interesting if they could determine how old the animal was when it fell in the water and died.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the dentin there on the bottom. I mean, just the wear. I can't tell if that's silt that's crammed in there, or if it's wear or what. But that's kind of the way we do deer when we take a deer. You can look at the determine the age by the wear of the teeth. And I just wondered if they did that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a question I can ask him if that's something they're planning on doing. I mean, all the teeth were in, except for one tooth. All the upper teeth were there.
So he cared for himself, his dental.
Absolutely.
Health.
He had a good dental plan in southern Michigan.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Very interesting. So so they come and they pick it up. We saw the picture of that. They loaded it into this van. They take it away. And how long was it before you got results back?
It was maybe 2.5 weeks.
Wow, that's quick.
That is quick.
Okay. And you said that they preserved it. Do you know what they did as far as the process of what they did to make sure that this thing didn't deteriorate any further?
So they explain they soak it in this chemical, and then they continue to brush it and spray it with this chemical. I think it's acrylate.
Okay.
I'd have to look up an email and see what it says. But anyway, it's kind of like a wax, and it ends up expelling. It penetrates the bone, expels water, and replaces any cavities with itself.
Okay.
So it petrifies the bone and the antler.
I gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. And then for them doing this, you agreed to let them display this at the Cranbrook Institute?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I got to imagine, too, right now with COVID, there's no way that anybody can get in there to see this, right?
Well, they're going to open it up to members in August, and I think by the end of August, early September, it's going to be open to the public.
Okay, I gotcha.
They're planning on having the elk in their lobby. So.
Oh, right in the very front when you go in. That is awesome. Now, for those that are watching the show that live in the area, or maybe somebody that lives here in the Midwest, and they kind of know the general area, but explain to them where the Cranbrook Institute is, that they might be able to take a look at this.
I'd have to look it up. I think it's in Bloomfield.
It's down in Bloomfield Hills, I do believe, if I remember my directions right for Cranbrook. But yeah, so
I think it's right over near the Detroit Zoo, right in that area.
Okay.
And it's very nice of them to offer to have that put right in their lobby. I mean, that's just, they're not just going to hide it down the hall, turn right, look up, there it is. But they're going to have it right in their lobby. That just it's a cool factor to see something of this magnitude that really, it sounds like almost was a fluke to be found.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, we're really happy that they showed up and took care of it, because we didn't know what to do with it. We didn't want to do anything that was going to damage it, because we didn't know from a historical value if it's something that needed to be preserved and put somewhere in a museum so people could enjoy it. And they showed up and they've done just a great job. I mean, it's been really, really fun working with them.
Some people wait all their life to get an animal like that to put on their wall.
Right, he didn't have to fire a shot.
No. He went and roped it.
He went and swimming,
right?
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know you could go fishing for elk, but I guess
no.
I guess that's what you can do. That's a cool thing.
Right.
Well, that's where they're finding a lot. Most of the ones I've heard about, that's what they're finding them in, is in these lakes. And it makes sense, like you said, that's a deep lake, and it was in the muck, and it was preserved. And if it was laying out, in the open, or even buried in the ground a little bit, it's going to deteriorate.
And that's the thing. And this is one of the things that has been found.
Mm-hmm. Think about what's down there that hasn't been found.
Exactly.
Right. I don't know if I want to go poking around in there because we might tip off something that's still swimming around there that there's some fresh meat on the surface.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You got a Leviathan down there or something,
I tell you what,
there's a little thing down there. We're going to start calling it Sully.
Right.
Well, then you'd be famous again. Creating your own Loch Ness. Way to go.
Yeah, freshwater megalodon shark, something crazy. Who knows?
We never knew it was there.
Right.
There are some pike, so I don't know how big they get, but there's some pike in that water.
The pike can get big. If you got muskie, they can get bigger.
Especially with deep water and cold water.
Yeah, there's definitely some big pike in there for sure because depending on if it's mostly private lake, there isn't much fishing there. So,
right.
Yeah, those pike can get pretty big, no doubt about it.
I tell you what, let's just run this segment here just a little bit short because I know everybody's probably still wanting to know
how old this thing is. So let's take a break. Let's keep them on edge here for just a few more minutes. Absolutely, we can't tell everybody in the first segment. That'd just not be right.
So we're going to step outside. We'll take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show. We're still talking about the ancient elk, the elk that was found here locally in the mid-Michigan area by Michael Bleau. And we've been talking about how they carbon dated it and all of that. And actually in the commercial break, for those that are listening on the podcast, you need to go back and watch the live stream to see the photos of this thing because they're simply incredible, number one. But in the commercial break, we talked a little bit about when that time frame of when they went extinct here in this local area. Actually, it was Jason Radecki, and he chimed in here just a minute ago on the thread and said what?
He said that, matter of fact, it wasn't long ago when the whole thumb area and the majority of the state was covered in trees until the huge fire.
Yeah, the Great Fire is what they call it.
Yep.
And I said 1890s in the break there, but I know there was one up in our area, up in northeastern Michigan's Lower Peninsula, that went through, and I actually misspoke. I think that one was probably more about the early 1900s.
Okay.
And because the trees in our area, it's the oak trees, and that's a telltale sign. Generally, an oak tree grows from an acorn, and it sprouts up, and you have a single tree. Well, when there's a fire, or you cut them down and you leave the stumps, they stump sprout after something like that, and they regrow, and you'll have a clump, and it'll be 3, or 4 trees grow together out of one base.
Yep.
And almost every oak on our property is that way. And we had some forester come in when we were doing some forestry work there, and he said, these are all result from the Great Fire.
Yep.
So that points back to that time.
That started that conversation, and then, that dates it. But then he goes and finds this. Now, was there any reason or any attempt to go down and find the rest of the carcass from the...
Any other bones?
Any other bones? Or this has been it?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, they had one archaeologist stop by, my neighbor's brother-in-law. He suggested that in most cases those bones are scattered just because of animals feeding on it and currents and stuff. He said it'd be really hard to find a fully intact skeleton at the bottom of a body of water.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense to me. Bottom feeders.
Right, exactly. So they called this week. Actually, you emailed me and said, I've got the results, and I know everybody's sitting on here. They want to know. So what did you find out this week? What did they tell you?
Well, and I just sent you some photographs that Mike sent me. Mm-hmm. You asked last segment about the preservation process.
Right.
So I sent you some photos if you wanted to share those.
Yep, I've got them. I got one of them up now. Yep.
So, so they said basically that that it's 220 years old.
Okay.
And with a range of plus or minus 30 years. So it puts it, in a historic time, and they're pretty certain that it's an eastern elk, which is, extinct, of course. You guys know that, right?
Right. Yep. They left this area in the mid to 1850s, 60s, 70s, somewhere right in there, if I'm not mistaken. from what I do remember. And then they, and actually Danny and I, we talked about it at one point here recently, that they reintroduced elk here, and they came in the early 1900s via rail car.
And they pushed them out of the railroad.
Yeah, and we showed a picture of that. It was kind of cool. And it's actually up in the Wolverine area where they release these elk. And, that's Michigan's elk herd today. It started from that.
Exactly. So we're talking about an animal 220 years ago.
So 220, that puts it back to 1800-ish?
Right, yeah, 1800. So 17 would be 17 what?
1770 to
1830?
1830 is the range that this animal was in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Ranged in this area. Get it? Range, date range.
That's what you did there. Yeah,
exactly. And, and unfortunately, don't know how it happened. Ended up on the bottom of a lake and was hidden by sheer stroke of a rope, and some guy moving to this new lake in a platform
hit the lottery.
He hooked this thing. Yeah. It hit the elk lottery. And it's funny you say that, but it's something like this that you think back, you go, wow, 1790, 1800, or 1830, anywhere in there is just. Well, think about what was
going on here
at that time.
Fur trades, Native American villages in this area. And just something just dawned on me, too. I mean, just think back. Maybe it was out on the ice, and there was a Native American that was hunting, trying to provide food for the tribe, shot this thing maybe, and maybe he caped it out and took all the meat and the hide and left the skull there. And maybe when it thawed out in the spring, it went down. Who knows?
Wolves could have got it.
Yeah, drug it out there.
Yep.
Who knows?
They might have chased it out on the ice.
Mm-hmm. It fell through.
Yep. There's so many variations to this that it's just really cool.
Yeah.
It's just something you don't come across every day in conversation, whether you're a hunter, non-hunter, or just, hey, what did you do today? Well, I found just a 220-year-old elk head in the bottom of my lake.
Well, looking back at that, I told you, Michael, before we started the show, in Toledo, there's a statue of not a Confederate war wasn't that time, but there was an Army cavalryman, Captain Oliver Hazard Perry, and once he retired from the Army, the U.S. Army, he came up into Michigan, into this exact area, and he kept very meticulous notes on his hunts here. He was hunting wolves, he was hunting elk, deer, other critters as well, but he was hunting those elk, those Eastern Range elk at that time. And, he hunted Genesee County, he hunted Livingston County, and Oakland County, and Tuscola County. I remember vividly that those were mentioned. So, he hunted just a little bit after probably that time frame of what that was carbon dated at, but it's the same elk, basically. So, which is kind of cool to think about that.
Is that is it Commodore Perry's, the monument at the end of the street in Perrysburg?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, actually there was a gentleman on Facebook that posted that this week and was making reference to it, and I believe he said that he had been told he was a distant relative, and he was actually there and took a picture of that and was talking about it, and I said, I've got a book about that man hunting in this area, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome. Again, things that have happened years ago and being connected to present day.
Yeah, and here we are talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just not across the country. It's right in our back door.
Right.
So that is just amazing. It is awesome that, you find this and just, you get the right person, and I'm totally, it's awesome. I wouldn't let Cranbrook have it, I'll tell you that much. I would be like, no, you are not getting it.
I say, we're hoping that after, Cranbrook, once they're, done exhibiting it, that there's other museums around Michigan that would like to share it and show it. We can loan it to.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I'd get a replica made.
I've got a couple questions on a little tangent of this, but I want to go ahead and take a break. That way we can finish this show on that topic when we come back. So we'll go ahead and run this one short as well, and when we come back, we'll discuss that my questions a little further here. So we're going to step outside, take our last break, and we'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power.
and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show. Talking about something that's a lot older than me. Go ahead. You got something smart to say about that? You're just going to let it sit there.
You just.
Okay. All right.
You just said it all. Why do I
Okay.
have to put butter on that?
Well, I thought you might want to put a little butter on it.
No, that's okay.
All right.
You're like 20,000 days old too. So.
Yeah. I turned 20,000 days old last week.
Yeah. See.
So. Oh man.
But anyways, you had some questions for Mike about his elk head.
Yeah. So looking forward, I mean, you and I had talked previously, and you had mentioned that some people have been approaching you about what's going to happen to it. Do you want to sell it? Things of that nature. But you just mentioned that you might send this thing on a little tour around the state of Michigan to some other museums. Can you talk a little bit about people approaching you with that? What did you think when somebody said, "Hey, I'd buy that"?
It was just interesting. I mean, you don't have people showing up, leaving notes in your mailbox and with their phone numbers, and or just calling you out of the blue because I gave my contact information out just so people could contact us. But
right.
I didn't expect people to call and say, "Hey, I'd like to buy this from you." We've had several offers from people on the lake that would like to keep it on the water. They'd like to put it in their homes. Which is great. I mean, at some point down the line, we'll probably sell it. We'll auction it or something. I'm not sure. I don't even know what the value it would be. So I'm not sure.
At this point, priceless.
Yeah.
Because it's all what somebody wants it to be, right? That's how it works. Really, truthfully, is it a one of a kind? Is it a
Like I say, you don't find them every day. There's been a few found here in the last 5-10 years.
Connected to the elk herd that was, which is now gone.
Right.
And then fully intact as much as this is. Mm-hmm. It's not a partial. It's a, obviously lower jaw is missing, but, the head. And it's a 6x5, I think.
7x6. Am I right on that? Was it 7x6?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. I got a picture here.
I think it's
count it up.
Right.
In the one picture, there's one that's kind of hidden behind the side. But you can get an idea by just counting up on the.
So it's not just like an elk spike. It's a nice size elk.
Okay, there's 6 on the. If you're looking at it, there's 6 on the left.
So it's a 6x.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7x6.
7x6. That's not a small elk.
And I can't tell if that's just a little nodule down there. I think it's just a little nodule. It's not a kicker or nothing down there in the front. I think it's right at the base of the pedicle.
So we'll go with 7x6.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I think price wise it's priceless at the time until he sees fit.
Right.
And and he'll have everybody from. Like he said, he's got people with dropping things in his mailbox with a phone number.
Right.
So who knows?
If you do wind up selling it, I think what I'd like, if it was me personally, I'd like to see is the DNR to buy it and use it maybe as one of their museums and tell the story about it, but let the state of Michigan buy it and use it as a historic piece. Maybe
it would be nice to see it in the Michigan Museum.
Yeah, the Michigan Museum in Lansing.
In Lansing.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
And they got plenty of money.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's just those are my thoughts. If it was me,
I'd rather spend money on the roads first. Let's get the roads fixed. Buying dead elk later.
Right. Well, actually, they just paved my road this week.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
You had a nice smooth road now.
It's as smooth as it's been since I've lived here.
Right. Exactly. I was like, wow. But just it's one of those things. He's gonna have people coming out of the woodwork just offering up whatever.
Right. Very cool. You got any other questions?
Actually, no, I don't, because I just want to see this thing. Like you said, it's going to Cranbrook.
Yeah.
I want to hear what kind of it follows after that, and what he's going to do with it will be interesting.
Right.
I'm sure we'll find out more whenever he decides. Maybe he's going to put it in the middle of anchor it in the middle of the lake. behind acrylic, so his entire lake friends can see and know who found it. The new guy on the lake. Hello, that's me. And by the way, here's my elk.
Well, I got to imagine. So you're the new guy on the lake. I bet everybody on that lake knows who you are now.
Yeah, I think so.
After finding that thing.
Well, it's not just me. I mean, my son Josh and his fiancee Bailey Patterson, we all pulled it out together. Mm-hmm. So it's a 3-way split. We're gonna have to if we get $500 for it, we got to split it up.
There you go.
I say you take it, and you nail it to the swim platform, and call it a day.
Yeah. Something tells me I don't think it'd still be there after that.
Creepy, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
It's a clothes hanger, right?
Yeah, right. You can
Hang
hang your
your
swim
towels.
trunks on it and towels, yeah.
You could put the towels on it to dry. It's big enough for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The one picture is they just didn't use a regular car to come pick this up. They brought a U-Haul to get this in, which was kind of funny. You know, it's not every day you're transporting a set of elk antlers. So yeah, you're not going to use your Chevy Cruze to put this in put the seat down. No. They brought a U-Haul. So
yeah, that's good stuff. Well, I tell you, I really appreciate you taking a little time with us, sitting down, talking about it. If you hang on just a minute, we'll wrap up the podcast portion, and we'll stay online live for a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions. But for those of you on the podcast, the audio file here just does not do this justice.
No.
Go watch the live stream.
This is one of those episodes you got to go to the live stream or see it on YouTube when we post it over there and see the pictures of this thing and see how well this was preserved at the bottom of the lake for 220 years, give or take. And it's a cool fact that just doesn't happen every day.
No, and it happened in our backyard, so to speak. So, one last question. Do you know when it will be on display at Cranbrook?
Yeah, I think it opens up to membership early August, and then mid to end of August it opens up to the public.
Okay, so mid to end of August, we'll be able to take a cruise down there and see it.
Go take a selfie with it.
As soon as they let me know, I'll email you and let you know when that happens.
That'd be awesome, and we'll tell our listeners on the show, and
we'll all meet down there and have a UNJ party with our masks on.
Yeah.
I like his answer. Yeah. Did Cranbrook say what would happen if they did not preserve it?
They said after it dries out, it'll become brittle.
Yep,
and,
that makes sense.
It'll be prone to breaking.
Yep, there you go.
That makes sense.
A typical thing, it dries out. And see, Boone and Crockett's going to want 60 days of drying time.
Right.
Now that he's done that, preserved-wise, it should be able to score it now.
Yeah, they don't want to do a green score, but it's been 220 years. I don't think that's a true green score.
So if they this is awesome, because if you get this scored and they put it in the books, it's got to go. It's an Eastern. It's got to go under. I don't think there's anything under that category.
I don't think so. So you'll probably have the Michigan State record for an Eastern,
the one and only.
Yeah. So
Ooh, we should do that.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I would get a hold of them and ask them, and I don't think that. Yeah,
have them score it. That'd be cool.
Absolutely.
So
there's a scorer right here in Howell. I've reached out to him, and it's just a matter of getting him access to it.
Yep, that's what he needs. He just needs access to it and his measuring tape, and he'll do it, and you'll get a score on it, and then you'll be entered in the books, and
the rest is history, as they say.
Right?
Yeah. If they end up doing that, I'll get that information to you as well, so you can share that.
Very cool.
Very awesome. Cool. Awesome.
Well, I tell you what, everybody on the podcast, please go check this out. I'm telling you what, you won't be disappointed. It's there's some great photos that we've shown tonight, and as we've always said, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share, and go over to iTunes and give us a review over there as well. That helps us out.
Give us a review over there, and if you go over to YouTube, please subscribe to us. Get their subscriptions up over there. That helps us too. That helps us help our sponsors and supporters, and vice versa, and it makes everybody a good time.
That's right. And don't forget to share the show. That's going to do it for us this week here on the podcast. Y'all take care, and we'll be back again next week.
Thanks, guys.
This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Buck Bait,
Better the Hunt,
Rebel 6 Rubs and Seasonings,
Easy Cut,
Lim Walker Game Calls,
Sunrise Archery,
Total Heat,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Packer Max,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Scent Blocker,
Scent Lock,
Copper John,
and Stanislawski Release Aids.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.